What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilkin. I'm coming back today with more Danmachi, and we need to talk about this banner that's incoming here really soon. It's actually incoming tonight, because I think this is a must-have banner. Now, we're going to kick this off by talking about Harumi. We talked about these stats yesterday. These stats are pretty good. 4606 HP is really, really high. 595 endurance isn't the highest, but being a support unit, not being in an attacker role, it'll be just fine. 1019 dex is really good. 1263 agility is definitely nothing to sneer at. Her magic attack is 2056, and you will see that actually is a really good stat for her, because her attack skill is interesting, but that's her main attack skill. Now, you do see she has some physical attack too, and you already know that's going to make her a support. That's our instant clue that she's support. Okay, skill 1 for Harumi is a 107 MP cost, and this does a ton of things, so hang tight here. 107 MP cost, allies, fast, strength, magic, dex, physical resist, and magic resist, plus 40% for 5 turns with a 40% HP regen for 5 turns, and self heal rate plus 60% for 1 turn. Then she gives herself 3 additional actions, foes plural, high dark magic attack. I think this is the first time outside of an SA that we've actually seen a high attack on the extra skill. So we've seen that on an SA before, but never on a regular skill, at least that I can recollect off the top of my head. High dark magic attack with ultra penetration rate, magic resist down 40% for 3 turns, allies 40% HP heal. Remember, that means that that turns 2, 3, and 4, or for as long as she has this in play, essentially, everyone's going to get 40% HP heal on that turn. And fire, water, thunder, earth, wind, light, and dark attack damage 50% for 3 turns. That's it. That's an enormous skill. That's a hugely insane skill. She is so good. Now, in fairness, having just 50% isn't going to be enough for most units, but you know, in that circumstance, we do have some units sometimes that we rotate in that may not get the biggest buffs or whatever. It's just a little bit to help out. It's not going to be groundbreaking, but it basically gives you the ability to use units you wouldn't normally use on a non-elemental team. Now, her skill 2 then, 77 MP cost, foes, plural, slow, super dark magic attack. That's a super class attack. On an AoE superclass magic attack at that. Ultra uncounter rate, temporary magic boost, and allies shorten status debuffs by 2 turns. So any debuffs that were put on that turn essentially are gone at that point. And foes shorten status buffs by 2 turns and 10% MP heals. So that basically means anyone who has a slow skill that goes after her can apply buffs. But anyone who has just a regular skill or a fast skill that applies buffs, end of that turn, those buffs essentially, if they're not gone, they're reduced down to very, very little. Now, 2 turns isn't, in this stage of the game, crazy, because a lot of people now have 4 and 5 turn buffs. But it will be enough to really cripple them. And basically, by the second time you get that off, their buffs probably will most likely be gone. So it is important. It's not as groundbreaking as I think it would have been 3 years ago, but obviously, you know, she essentially is a modern version of the first light Harumi we got. And I really think if they wanted to make her game-breaking, give it 3 or 4 turns for that debuff, but I think 2 turns is still fine. She's still very relevant. Now, skill 3 is a 49 MP cost, foe singular slow dark magic attack. With ultra penetration rate, skill damage 60% per foe magic resistance debuff, and allies cure status ailments. So remember that attack is going to be a 120% attack. So very, very, very big attack. And her SA is a foes plural ultra dark magic attack with ultra penetration rate, temporary great magic boost, dark resist down 60% for 3 turns, and self magic plus 100% for 3 turns. Now, the nice part is that means you can use her on a physical team, and she still gives herself a magic buff with her SA. Here's the kicker. 4 additional actions. Foes, plural. High dark magic attack with ultra penetration rate, magic resistance down 60% for 3 turns. Means every single turn she's applying that. So it's basically going to stay in play. And Ally's 60% HP heal, up from 40 that we had before. And Fire, Water, Thunder, Earth, Wind, Light, and Dark attack damage 80% for 3 turns, which is going to give anybody a relevant enough buff to really get what they need. So the nice part is here, you can run her essentially as your elemental buff, and you no longer need to run specific element teams. That's right. You can run her on a physical team that is mixed element. I'll say that again in case you weren't paying attention. You can run a mixed element physical team. And so long as she's in an SA stack, let's say your first unit on your team is giving everyone, physical attack 100 or 120%, she'll give everybody the element they need at 80%. With magic to herself, 100%. That is how relevant this unit is. I didn't really harp on this as hard as I really needed to yesterday. This is groundbreaking. This makes elemental teams essentially irrelevant. I'll say that one more time. Elemental teams are essentially a thing of the past with Harumi. If you don't understand why that is such a huge deal, it's hard to explain otherwise. Because, frankly, you can now mix and match the teams you want, and you don't even need to care about what element they're using. Use Harumi, get her SA off as quickly as possible, and then so long as they have a physical buff or a magic buff or whatever they need, you can just use these crazy mixed element teams that kind of bounce ideas off of one another. Now, obviously, you won't have a lot of the debuffs and things like that. You will rely on each unit to have their own debuff. But you can build a team that is essentially just absolutely crazy and just bouncing elements off the walls. It's crazy how good she is. All right, let's look at her passives here. So 45% light resistance. Counters and regular attacks are dark magic attack. She does not have Haruhime's usual counter heal. I wonder if that is a misprint or if that's going to get changed, but she does not have the usual counter heal. But frankly, with her extra action, you don't need it. I'll be totally honest here. 40% magic agility and dex, 35% damage on penetration, 25% physical and magic resistance. So she really, without having the endurance, is still a tank. And she's a spirit killer. I really like Harumi, and Harumi is a must-have unit. Must-have unit on these banners. Let's talk about Lily. Now, Lily's main thing here, 1342 HP. Her physical and magic stats aren't really that great, but her agility stat is really awesome. 652 agility is a really strong agility stat. So that right there really kind of makes up for anything else. Now, Lily is an assist, of course. So endurance, agility, and dex plus 20%. Or, I'm sorry, down 20% on all foes. Endurance, agility, and dex down 20% on all foes. So she really makes everybody just that much slower and basically more defeatable, for lack of a better way to put it. And 4 instant effects. Now, this is what I really, really, really like about this unit. 4 instant effects. When attacked, allies 40% HP heal. That means whoever she's tied to receives an attack. Whole team gets healed. And add 1 ailment nullification. So that means that ailments are nullified for that turn, essentially. This effect can only happen once, but it can happen once per turn, which means 4 turns. When we talk about this type of situation, I'm always talking about wargame, right? Because when we talk AoE, we're talking wargame. Most wargame fights, are done within 2 to 3 turns. So that essentially means that for the duration of the vast majority of your attacks, especially if you're talking Familia wargame, because if you really go beyond that with Familia wargame, you're already losing points. Stall teams do have an advantage over her, but honestly, stall teams aren't damage-producing teams. So, it is what it is. I like Lily a lot. I think Lily's another must-have unit. I think she's fantastic. I really don't see any reason not to go after both of these units unless you're really, really, really low on Iris. And then frankly, we're getting so much Iris lately. It's just really not an excuse. So, like, comment, share, guys. Go after these units if you can. I'll catch you guys for more Danmachi coming up here with the live stream. Almost instantly. We should have it here shortly.